my utmost pleasure to welcome you all to this very first Bioeconomy Roundtable of the season 2023. You are all warmly welcome to this occasion. Seems to be that today we are having a registrations again from all 5 continents. So we are very pleased to have you with us today. I'm your host today with my colleague Mark Ruston, who is also a co-founder of the World BioEconomy Forum. I'm located in Finland, or should I say in Funland, because we've been selected already 5 times as most happy nation in the world. So nevertheless, greetings from Finland. And how about in UK, Mark? All ready to go?
Yeah, all ready to go. It's spring in the UK. I'm looking out the window. The birds are singing and the sun is shining. So it's all good with me. Thank you, Jukka. And welcome to all our followers of the World BioEconomy Forum from all over the globe. Great to have you with us today. We've got a fantastic lineup of panelists, and we have an excellent moderator in the shape of Ludo Diels, who we're very lucky to have. Jukka, let's get straight to the point of the bioeconomy. It was a great year last year, 2022, really good for the bioeconomy. So can you tell us just why it was so remarkable?
Indeed. So much took place in the bioeconomy space last year, and what's best that there's more to come. Despite of all turbulence in the global policies and economies, I feel that the bioeconomy made remarkable steps. And hopefully it is getting more attention in a global level. Anyhow, bioeconomy is providing solutions for the mankind. So we are not part of the problem. We are providing solutions, like all of you who are then stakeholders of the bioeconomy. You remember, Mark, the theme of the last season. We had this World BioEconomy Forum talks on climate, where we were exploring interconnection between the bioeconomy, bioproducts related to climate change mitigation. All these lessons are summarized in our declaration 2022, and you may still find them from our YouTube channel. It was a remarkable year as such, and there was a very first time bioeconomy panel in the climate COP. It took only 30 years to get in that position. This historical panel was organized by UNIDO, and we were honored to be invited into it. It was just grateful to share the status of the global bioeconomy and all the lessons we learned during the season 2022. And hopefully this is paving the way for the bioeconomy and bioproducts role as an additional tool in the climate change mitigation.
Yeah, let's hope so, Jukka. I mean, the bioeconomy and bioproducts are providing alternatives for non-renewable options. So they are actually doing a great job at reducing our dependence on fossil-based products. I mean, it's really very important. But this substitution effect is not yet incorporated into policy tools. I remember the excellent briefing that we had from Peter Holmgren at one of our members' events. And he was saying, this is a really serious discussion because these products really should be recognized as climate mitigation tools, as part of the toolbox. However, all of us here today, us hardened bioeconomy people, we're all aware of the good that goes on within the bioeconomy and the substitution effect. So that's really good. But tell us more about the landscape of the bioeconomy, Jukka. What does it look like on a global level now? How are we proceeding?
Mark, I do see good times for the bioeconomy. So maybe I can share a slide by which we are then describing what's then the status of the bioeconomy. At least how do we see within the World BioEconomy Forum? So I'd like to make here a couple of points. So the first point is about all about the economics. And the value of the global economies is over $100 trillion according to IMF. And now there are expectations that, okay, the value of the bioeconomy will increase to level that it is accounting 1/3 of all, let's say, okay, economic activities, corresponding to $30 trillion US. And already by 2030, it is not that far away. You remember, okay, you made it, okay, very nice interview of the White House, Mark, last year that you were elaborating on this topic. You remember?
Yeah. That was an excellent interview. I remember it, and these it's great. They appear to be taking the topic very seriously, and it's really good that the superpowers are having such an interest in this bioeconomy now. For instance, China as well, Jukka, where you were interviewed on the TV channel CGTN. Actually, Jukka's becoming quite famous around the world. The White House, Egypt, TV in China. You're really making your mark. So the value of the bioeconomy, as we can see, is increasing from north to south and east to west. Yeah, and indeed, and it's not only the superpowers, and we will hear more about US case. I think Ginny will tell us that what's up in US, and on the other hand, we will hear that by Yipin that what's up in China. So, but they are not only the superpowers. So we are hearing the very same notions from all over the world. So I hope that we are hearing also today from Brazil by Thiago Falda. What's up in Brazil? What's their expectation when it comes to value of the bioeconomy? But nevertheless, this is the first point to make. The second point I'd like to make here is that biorevolution is looming. We all still remember the third industrial revolution, namely digital revolution, which is enabling us to having these broadcasts through the internet. So everybody is using the internet, but no one is owning that. So no matter what's your democracy, no matter what's your economy, everybody is benefiting and no one is owning that. When it comes to the bioeconomy, when it comes to biotechnology, so are we entering the same kind of, let's say, stage that we need to start into talking about that? What are the common things between we share it together, and what are the issues what we are keeping only by ourselves? But biorevolution is anyhow knocking in the door as we are talking today here. Am I right, Mark? Yeah, and of course we'll be hearing a lot more about that topic today. Yeah, precisely. Okay, let's leave that for the panel section of this roundtable. Third point I'd like to make, the bioeconomy is everywhere. But at the same time, it is nowhere. We feel that the bioeconomy is not widely enough recognized or comprehended by the big audience. Sometimes it appears that even the bioexperts do not comprehend it enough. That there we have work to do. We need to amplify a voice of the bioeconomy to make it more explicit and more tangible to society and even for the ordinary consumers. Bioeconomy definitely deserves to be better understood. Yeah, absolutely, totally agree. It really is time that such a valuable and important tool is recognized, as we said before. But it's encouraging to see that there's progress being made. And really, it seems that the bioeconomy is now a mature sector. Yeah, and the importance is growing. As we see in this landscape, this very positive expectation for the bioeconomy. And also in terms of the biostrategies, there was not only the US or China who announced the biostrategies. Only during the last half a year, there were the biostrategies announced or updated in Finland or Namibia or in Japan. So all in all, there are nowadays close to 60 biostrategies worldwide and more to come. We do know that like Sweden is preparing their biostrategy and they will be they are launching that on coming months' time. Yeah, I must admit that I love this map. It shows how much progress is being made. It's a really good illustration of actually what's going on. And I would say, it's a great job so far, but as my teacher always used to say to me, great job so far, but there's a lot more work to be done. Yeah, never ready. Yeah, indeed, there are regional differences. And
we'd like to help, like Africa, you see that there is, quite many gray spots still left. And, the next roundtable after today's roundtable will be organized from Africa. Actually, we are going to broadcast from Dar es Salaam together with our African partners, like East African Community, together with Stockholm, the Environment Institute. And we are having a deep dive what's up in Africa. And we have named that that roundtable that we are witnessing a new area for the bioeconomy in Africa. So please stay tuned and tell later on more about it. But Mark, if the landscape is so appealing, is there anything more we could do in order to facilitate the developments of the bioeconomy?
Well, for some time now, we've been discussing that maybe it's really time to seriously talk about a global hub for the bioeconomy. And in my opinion, there's no time like right now to get on with this. So in order to explore this idea, we are launching a survey on the topic to all of our followers to seek your opinions on what a global hub might look like. So it's a very exciting day today because we're actually launching a survey. The sort of questions we're going to be asking in that are what issues of the bioeconomy should be discussed at the global level, how a potential global hub should be organized and run, and of course, if there is a global hub, how should we finance it? The announcement of the survey is today, as we've already said, and you can already find the link on our website. The survey will be open till the end of September, and we will share the results as we go along at our intermediate roundtables. And then finally, the full survey results will be available at the end of 2023. So this is an appeal to all of our World BioEconomy Forum followers. Don't be shy about it. It's a really interesting survey with some great questions in there. So hopefully many of you can join in there and take part in our survey.
Yeah, this is really something, and really this is very topical to have in a survey as such, because there are more and more questions that how do things related to bioeconomy should be then organized in the global level. So it's better to take that via this survey, and only after that coming up with the conclusion how it should be then organized, and we cannot do that alone. So we will do that together with our partners on this survey, who are then providing the sort of regional perspective to this study. So the big thanks belongs to them. So they are partners like ABBI from Brazil, East African Community, Il Bioeconomista, which is known as the best bioeconomic blog in the world, Michigan Technical University, Cluster Spring from Italy, Stockholm Environment Institute, Tianjin Institute from China, Vito from Belgium, and VTT from Finland. So big thanks belongs to you. So we really appreciate your support on this survey. The first intermediate result, as Mark said, will be then provided in the first let's say roundtable after this. So it is the 25th of April. So we will have a look on the progress of so the cumulative result, and the final result will be then available towards end of this year. So, but Mark, I think time is running, and the panelists are eager to get on broadcast. So, why don't you tell us that how do we run this roundtable on bioproduct around us, and more specifically Biorevolution in knocking at the door? So, please go ahead.
So once again, great to have you all with us, World BioEconomy followers. We have an excellent roundtable lined up for you today. And I love this theme, which is the Biorevolution knocking at the door. I think that's a really, really great phrase. We're delighted to have a rich and varied panel made up from various experts from top companies operating in and alongside the bioeconomy. We love to make this event as interactive as possible. We really want all your comments, all your questions. There's the chat box there. Don't be shy about it. In my opinion, as a journalist, there's no such thing as a stupid question. I've asked many silly ones, and they always get answered. If you think it's a silly one, it's usually quite a good one. So please feel free to ask as many questions as you like. The chat box on the right-hand side of the screen, really easy, very intuitive. So without any further ado, I would now like to introduce Ludo DLs. We're very fortunate to have Ludo with us today, and he'll be introducing the panelists and moderating the session. So a quick bio of Ludo, a very important man. I'm going to just read out his biography very quickly. Ludo is a doctor in chemistry and biotechnology and is Professor Emeritus at Antwerp University, former scientific advisor, sustainable chemistry at Vito, and senior chair of the advisory and program group of Aspire. In that function, he is chairing the preparation of research and development, strategy and programs for the whole process industry in Europe towards climate neutrality, circularity, and competitiveness. He is the chair of the advisory group of the Shared Research Centre Biohorizon on bio-based aromatics, and as such is also strongly involved in the bio-based economy in Europe. Ludo, great to have you with us and welcome. And you're on mute.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Nice to see you, and really a pity that you and Giulia are not here in Rio at this amazing GSTIC conference. Indeed, dear audience, we present this first World BioEconomy Forum Roundtable of 2023 from the Global Sustainable Technology and Innovation Community event in Expo Mac in Rio de Janeiro, ongoing from 13 to 15 February. This event brings globally stakeholders together involved in the development and the implementation of sustainable technology, and this in an inclusive and societal way with the global innovation community. Vito in Belgium was the initiator of this event and developed this with the support of the United Nations and several institutes worldwide. And among them is Fio Cruz. And Fio Cruz is today, or these days, our host here in Rio, and has really done an amazing job. On the first day, we discussed the role that the Amazon can play for societal development and biodiversity preservation as a follow-up of the World BioEconomy Forum event that we organized in Belém in 2021. The second day, we discussed with the large industrial players how we can move to a circular and climate neutral economy by making use of the bioeconomy in a sustainable way. And we have seen, and that's really a point I would like to make, the enormous potential Brazil still has nowadays to move forward. We received yesterday numbers about the growth of the bioeconomy in Brazil. We received numbers about the amount of yield per hectare of crops and so on. So it's really amazing to see how strongly this bioeconomy can still grow. So today we bring the importance of the bioeconomy to the global level by presentations from Europe, South America, North America, Asia, and Africa. We invited our panelists to answer in a short presentation of about 8 minutes the following questions. What are the most interesting biotechnologies and the most interesting application areas for the biotechnology? And so we would like to see how they see the biotechnology and the bioeconomy moving forward. And then afterwards, we will move on and dive into more detail in a panel discussion. So let us first move to our hosts. And so let's go to Brazil. And they will speak on behalf of South America. And we have for them 2 speakers. I will give both more or less 5 minutes. And the first one we invited was Dr. José Luis Gordon, who is Director of the Productive Development, Foreign Trade and Innovation, BNDES, and ex-Embrapi. But unfortunately, he could not join today because he was urgently invited to go to Brasilia, to the new government. I suppose that a lot of important things are ongoing, and so we give him all our support. But in that way, he will be replaced by João Pieroni, and he will speak on behalf of Mr. Gordon. I received his CV in Portuguese, so I invite him to present himself in English. So, Mr. Pieroni, you have the floor.
Okay, great. Thank you a lot, Ludo. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here to speak. I apologize, my English is not so good, so I will try to make me clear here. I'm working the Brazilian Development Bank. BNDES is one of the major development bank in the world. I work in the industry, health industry complex until 14 years. Leader this agenda in BNDES and with a lot of partnership with Fiocruz, a lot of projects that we make together. And nowadays in the new government, I just assumed the managing deputy about the industry, innovation, and foreign trade in BNDES. I'm responsible of these areas now in BNDES. That bioeconomy is one of our priority in our whole support of industry. Bioeconomy in the biofuels, in Amazon, in biotech, in health, in chemicals. So I'm sure that Brazil can lead our leadership great agendas that will contribute to climate transition and to competitiveness of our industry. So I'm available to our discussing. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pieroni, for this nice introduction. And I think you confirm what I already said, that indeed for Brazil, it's there is a big move towards bioeconomy. Yep. To support this in, if I can say, if I can say it at all societal levels, and it's not only seen as a, how to say, an industrial issue, but it's also to support industrial issues for the people.
Yes,
and
sure.
So that's really the
big challenge of the society.
Yeah, so that's really something that we really appreciate, and we believe that this will make a lot of impact the coming years. Allow me to move to a second speaker from Brazil, and this is Thiago Falda. He is the executive president of the Brazilian Bioinnovation Association, so ABBI is very well known. He is a biologist with a PhD in genetics and plant breeding by the University of Sao Paulo, and has been devoted the last 10 years to governmental and institutional relations to promote the engagement and consolidation of the Brazilian biotechnology sector. As a member of the Brazilian delegation and representing ABBI at the last two COPs, I think that's also an important point, to the Convention on Biological Diversity. And so I think in Brazil, we always have to speak about biodiversity. Thiago coordinated the construction of the Brazilian industrial biotechnology sector position about the synthetic biology, the Nagoya Protocol, and digital sequence information. He is also representative of the Industry National Confederation and in the Genetic Heritage Management Council of the Brazilian Environment Ministry, the Brazilian ABS National Competent Authority. Dear Thiago, welcome, and it's a pity you can be here, but we are really very happy that you could join online with us. As an executive president of the Brazilian Bioinnovation Association, you are certainly placed very well to tell us about the potential of the bioeconomy in Brazil and how it can help with climate issues. You have the floor.
Hello, Ludo. It's a great pleasure to be here. Hi, everyone. Unfortunately, it was not possible to be there in person, but this technology now allows us to participate in several events via Zoom, and I'm very glad to be here. Okay, as you, I will start just to talking about a little bit about ABBI, just to to introduce. I'm sharing. I'm sharing my screen here. I don't know if you are seeing.
You don't see it yet.
Okay, let's try again. Wrong file.
Yeah, it's working, Thiago.
Okay. Okay, ABBI, just to to introduce what we are, what we do, and why we believe that Brazil have the great potential to the development of bioeconomy. Okay, ABBI is a private organization in Brazil that represent companies and institutions from different sectors that are investing in the development of innovative technologies based on biological and renewable resources to create new products, new process or business models, and that can contribute to the generation of environmental benefits and sustainable economic development. In other words, our member companies invest in technology that can, with no doubt, are going to accelerate the transition to a low carbon economy and the development of bioeconomy. It is very clear that world population and the consequent increase in demand for natural and energy resource, land use, among other things, bring us urgent need to a paradigm shift, among other things, bring an urgent change in the industrial model. Just for an example, it's very important to say that it's expected to increase in 4 times the demand of chemicals in industry by 2015. This scenario has been driving a series of actions toward this new paradigm shift, and the potential of carbon pricing initiatives to leverage the economy are becoming a reality. Not by chance, according to World Bank, more than 60 carbon pricing initiatives are under implementation in the world, and Bioinnovation offers a viable way to turn advanced bioeconomy a reality. And the point is, why Brazil? This is the first part is just an overview of the world scenario, but why Brazil? Why we believe that Brazil have the potential to become a leader of bioeconomy. We have the largest agricultural area in the world with the cheapest biomass in the world, a very successful experience in sustainable energy and biotechnology, and the highest biodiversity in the world. About 20% of all the biodiversity in the world is in Brazil, mainly in Amazon rainforest. That is the theme of this panel. But the problem is, or the question is, how to convert these comparative advantages that we clearly have, in competitive ones. Here, just to give you an overview of our work, this mind map here brings you our strategic pillars that are essential to the development of Brazilian bioeconomy. First one is the regulation. With no regulation, with a very, if the regulation is not adequate to the new technologies, it will impact negatively in the time of approval and the development of new products. Second point, intellectual property. There are no innovation without intellectual property. In Brazil, we have a very particular legislation of intellectual property regarding life science, and it's important to adequate this kind of legislation. And 2 points that I would like to tell you is about carbon market creation. We have in Brazil since 2017 a regulated carbon market specific to biofuels. It is called Renova Bio here. It's almost the same mechanism of CARB and California. It was very similar. And nowadays, our parliament is discussing the creation of a new carbon market that will be similar to European system ETS, and we are very involved in this discussion, in this scenario. And I will highlight here 2 other aspects that is very important. The first point is competitiveness in R&D. What I mean with it, Brazil have some kind of problems that is affect all the sectors. And when you are talking about R&D, it's very common that companies go abroad to make the development of research, because here we have some kind of bureaucracy and costs that are not attractive to the research. Then here's some points that we need to improve in Brazil. And as Gordon is here participating in this panel, I'd like to highlight the investments necessity to share the risks of innovation, share the risks of the development of new technologies mainly for bioeconomy. This is just a very simple overview. We can discuss all these issues if you want to have some point, if you have some questions. But just to start, to give you a brief introduction, what ABBI are doing in Brazil. We are working now this point here, and to make the bioeconomy a reality in Brazil. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Thiago, for this nice overview. I already saw some questions in the chat, but we will come back to that later on. Also, I think it would be nice to see later on how this potential of Brazil is also expanding maybe to other countries in Latin America. I don't know if it can create a new economic law in a way that all South America is becoming one of the big continents for bioeconomy. But let's discuss that later. Speaking about continents, let's move now to next continent, and let's move now to Africa. As you understood from Yuka, the next roundtable will be organized from Africa. We are really very happy, but also very proud on that, I must say. So we have today with us Dr. Andrew Kiggundu. He is the Principal Research Officer affiliated with the National Agricultural Research Organization in Uganda. He specializes in plant biotechnology, regulatory biosafety, stewardship, and communication for policy advocacy in Africa. He has served as leader of the biotechnology and biodiversity program, leading teams that work towards sustainable utilization of Uganda's genetic resources. So we are speaking again about biodiversity. He recently returned from a 5-year sabbatical at the Donald Danforth Plant Science Center in the USA, and he's the founder and the CEO of Papyrus Biotechnology. Andrew, you have the floor.
Hey, thank you, Ludo. Yeah, thank you very much. It's indeed a pleasure and an honor to be invited to speak at this roundtable. And briefly, I would like to bring a case for Africa and how Africa is preparing itself to participate in the bioproducts that are all around us, and that the bioeconomy is knocking at our door. These pictures illustrate the rich and varied biodiversity that is largely unexplored in Africa. But with research and development innovations, Africa can leverage this rich and varied natural resource and mitigate so many challenges, including the long impacts of COVID-19 that we're coming out of, climate change, food sustainability, fuel, energy, and health and environment. I think we already know that we are not talking about the traditional bioeconomy or the traditional bio-related activities to date, but we want to put innovation up front. And I think what is causing people to not understand our case on the bioeconomy is that they think it's already been going on. Yes, it's already been going on, but the new drive now is the innovations around bio-based production of food, feed, healthcare products, energy, biomass materials, and the like. So the term innovation is still not fronted, and I think that's one of the things we need to do here in Africa. Agriculture, for me, is going to be the most critical entry point, because today it's the basis of livelihoods, the basis of economies in Africa, and there's no better place to start our bioeconomy drive than agriculture. It's the highest employer, the driver of industrial sector and employment, largest contributor to the GDPs throughout Africa, and the biggest source of income, foreign exchange income for African economies. These pictures illustrate the diversified subsistence farming in Africa. A lot of the farming and agriculture remains subsistence for home use, with a range of crops, both for food, for income, and you know. But I must say here that breeding efforts and a bit of biotechnology have already contributed in sustaining this practice. A lot of the things you see are improved. Those are improved chickens, those are improved goats, and some of the seed farmers are already planting a hybrid seed. So it's been going on, and innovations have been trickling in, except the ones of biotechnology, as we all know. But that picture is changing, and this is one of the things that we need to recognize, both as development partners, but also as internal governments. From the traditional homesteads, as you can see in the top picture there, and market foods, the cities are expanding. According to OECD, by 2050, Africa's towns will have 950 million people. That says something. That says innovations around biological resources and the like need to try and catch up with this expansion of economies, expansion of livelihoods. Otherwise, Africa is going to become a net importer of food. As we're already seeing, convenient foods such as wheat, rice are beginning to expand usage, and African economies are forced to start importing. Hence, some of the challenges we now have with the war in Russia. The FAO has published these figures, which are quite interesting, the driving forces that are shaping future food systems. And indeed, they are all based on cities expanding, increasing incomes, and people are eating more convenient foods, which are not necessarily the traditional foods, although they still love them. So again, that's an area for innovation, and bring back the foods that the African communities are used to in a different way, in a more convenient way, so that we can sustain biodiversity and economies. This one is showing how yield is probably the only intervention that could help double or triple current productivity in Africa, rather than just land expansion post-harvest reduction and the like. So, which means bioinnovation is still going to be the biggest contributor to tripling Africa's food production. Okay, strategies. I was happy that we saw a map earlier that showed Africa beginning to appreciate the bioeconomy and beginning to put together strategies that can drive efforts around the bioeconomy. South Africa and Uganda have published a bioeconomy strategy individually. Other countries in the green there are drafting bioeconomy strategies, but I would like to talk about the East African community's regional strategy on the bioeconomy. I think going regional is very, very interesting, very, very important, because then it brings into the picture cross-border trade, expanding markets that can help any innovations in a country be sustainable by expanding the markets and relevance of that innovation. So the East African community has agreed to start putting together scientific knowledge exchange systems so that we start to understand what are the resources out there and what innovations are needed to expand them, to support evidence-based policy, very important. Many countries are still struggling with this, and also joint development of bioeconomy knowledge portals, again, to start to bring together the knowledge that is needed to innovate around biosystems. So what is needed? This is my list of things that I've been thinking about. Political will is very important. A lot of political leaders are still not clear what this whole thing is about. And I think, as I said earlier, we need to put in the word innovation. We can't be doing business as usual. We have to be innovating so that the political will supports supportive policies, laws, and regulations. For example, biotechnology and biosafety is still not regulated properly. Many countries still are ignoring their responsibility under Cartagena to actually provide these laws and regulations. Increased awareness, I've already mentioned that. Education, bringing these aspects into schools, into people learning that bio is a science and can create tremendous innovations. R&D, unfortunately, remains largely in public organizations, research organizations, universities, and they're still running their R&D systems traditionally. They develop innovations, publish, and they keep them in the published books. They're still not bringing in the innovation concept, bringing in the concept to business. And I think this is what we need to create the drive and the pool of these innovations, to build private sector partnerships. This is very important, to teach the private sector that bioinnovations can make money so that they can partner with the researchers and innovators. And to drive that, I am suggesting strategic grant making. I have seen that in the previous Brazilian presentation, which was fantastic. Governments and other development partners can strategically grant startups in the bioeconomy, but then with the intention to drive them to sustainable businesses. And then later on, venture capital will come in. That's very difficult to do in Africa. I do appreciate other countries have reached that level, that the private sector and people with their saved money can venture together with the innovators and create the capital needed to make startups sustainable businesses. And then later on, equity is important in Africa, because capacity that comes with the money makes that money much more sustainable and delivers the desired outcomes. Ludo, thank you so much for your time and for this time and the honor to represent Africa in this important roundtable.
Thank you, Andrew, and we look forward to the next roundtable from Africa.
Yes,
I think you will really give us a glimpse already from what is happening. I see some parallels also with the Brazilian situation.
Right.
I understand very well that yield improvement is extremely important, and I saw that also in the presentations of Brazil and also yesterday. So I think there it shows that there is really a need for global approach. And so not to speak about expansion of land use, but to speak about expansion of the yield, so that we need less land to produce more to fulfill all the needs of our communities. Speaking about needs and growing communities, I think our next speaker is very well placed, because now we move to the fastest emerging continent, if I can say, to Asia. And we will have among us Dr. Jibin Sun from China. He obtained his PhD in biotechnology at the Technical University in Braunschweig in Germany. He also worked as a scientist at the GBF and at the Technical University of Hamburg-Harburg. And he joined Tianjin Institute of Industrial Biotechnology as a full professor in 2008. He is a board member of China Biotech Fermentation Industry Association, board member of the Chinese Society for Microbiology, and is also the vice chair of Tianjin Society for Microbiology. He did substantial contributions to the foundations of the Institutional Core Facility and the National Center of Technology Innovation of Synthetic Biology. So, dear Jibin, China and also the rest of Asia is strongly expanding and emerging. What are, according to you, the most interesting biotechnologies and application areas that we have to look at? You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Giulia. It's very nice introduction. So I'm very happy to be part of this very interesting forum. Instead of sharing the overall comments to bioeconomy, but I want to mainly share my personal view on industrial biotechnology, which is, I think, the fueling the bioeconomy. So, industrial biotechnology uses microbiorganisms usually, or its parts, as tools for manufacturing purpose. It can turn agricultural debris or other renewable resources, such as carbon dioxide, into value-added products such as food, drug, materials, or energy. I think especially this technology is very useful not only for the developed countries, but also for the countries which are rich in biomass, or even in the future carbon oxide, the greenhouse gas is a problem. So I think this technology is good to eliminate the food crisis, or eliminate the poverty, and it really meets the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. It will be contribute very much for build a carbon neutral economy. So the very important reason why industrial biotechnology can support the sustainable development, I think, is because the enabling technology, synthetic biology, is already there. So by using synthetic biology, we can manipulate cells for industrial purpose by inventing new enzyme or create even new cells. By this way, we can very much increase the production efficiency. We can synthesize molecules which are usually difficult to chemistry or even new to the nature. So according to McKinsey Global Institute, up to 60% of the worldwide physical inputs could be made using biological means. According to OECD, biomanufacturing has the potential to produce 35% of the global chemical output by 2030. In China, so the industrial biotechnology was included in the National Medium and Long-Term Science and Technology Plan since 2006. After that, the government and the local government steadily invest in this area. for the central government through the National Basic Research Program, the National High-Tech R&D Program, and the National Key Research and Development Program. I think already around 3 billion yuan, roughly close to $500 million was invested in this area from the central government. Last May, the Chinese government released the new strategic policy, the 14th five-year plan for bioeconomy development. By the strong support from the central government and the involvement of the research capability in China in this area is increasing very fast. The number of the scientific publications, or even the highly
Amazing.
Any problem?
Sorry.
No, please go on. Please go on.
Oh, okay. Also, the highly cited publications, also the patents filed increased up to nowadays is ranked as #1 worldwide. So the industry in this area is also developed very fast. In the past decades, there's a lot of chemicals or nutrient compound or medicines were made, commercialized by using biotechnology. There's a lot of very good company like Huaheng Biotech or Casey Biotech, a lot of new companies coming into the market. So China, generally speaking, contribute 50 to 70% of worldwide production volume in many of product sectors. I think the great opportunities in China is we have the large market, we have the large number of industrial workers, we have the full supply chain of raw materials and production facility, and also the government has a very good policy to encourage the development of this area. I give one more example. Our efforts, especially made in our institute. 2 years ago, we published our results. We generate a very short unnatural pathway to convert carbon dioxide into food component starch. This process is very efficient. It's 8.5 folds faster than the farming process. There's a lot of also many good comments in the publications. So this technology provides a blueprint for manufacturing food or other valuable complex products from greenhouse gas. So I think industrial biotechnology is able to satisfy human demands on food, feed, medicine, materials, energy, etc., by an ever greener and eventually carbon neutral way. I hope we can work together with you to boost the technology innovation and the transfer in this area to welcome the coming of the year of the green bioeconomy. With this, I want to conclude my presentation. Especially, I want to thank Professor Yin Li and Professor Yu Bo to recommend to come to this forum. And I thank Professor Chen Fang from Chengdu Library and Information Center to provide with me very important data. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Jimin. And I think it's clearly showed that synthetic biology is extremely important. And again, I see that this is moving towards this yield increase, this increase of efficiency of CO2 conversion and photosynthesis, etc. So we see that we have a strong focus here in function of yielding to improvement and also all the different molecules that you presented based on synthetic biology, etc. So we will come back to that later. We have to move on in view of the time, and we move now to North America, especially to the United States. And we have the pleasure to have with us José Charamendi. She's a founding team member and the head of strategic relationships for Checkerspot, which is a California Bay Area-based company breaking new ground at the intersection of biotechnology, chemistry, and materials science. Checkerspot's vertically integrating wing platform optimized microalgae to biomanufacturing unique oils that are turned into new materials that can demonstrate improved performance properties in targeted hard goods, textile finishes, and personal care applications, and all kinds of other products. At Checkerspot, José leads efforts to expand corporate partnerships, build new brand, and strengthen government relationships. And she's a passionate advocate for solutions that are better for people and planet. And that's really what we like to hear, of course. Previously, José served as Senior Vice President for Global Corporate Communication, Sustainability, and Government Relations at Terravia, which is the former Solazyme. She also brings deep expertise in the sectors from television, media, and government. I think it's enough, José, and we move to you, and you have the floor. Thanks a lot.
That sounds great. Thank you so much. I am going to go ahead and share my screen here. Let's see if I can get that going. All right. Hopefully you can see my screen. And I am super excited to be here today with everyone. And I'm really excited by the topic of the biorevolution knocking on the door, because what I'm looking forward to talking about is how we have to focus on making it real for consumers and for brands. So I don't need to tell this audience or anyone on this call that, you know, the 21st century is being defined by biology. If the 20th century was all about petroleum and the rise of technology and computers, truly biology is unlocking whole new worlds and whole new applications for us as a planet and a society. The opportunities ahead of us are huge, and the opportunities for positive climate impact are also big. And we are seeing this uptake in multitude of different industries and different sectors. And this new economy around synthetic biology and biomanufacturing is set to unlock unprecedented economic global impact. So a little bit about what Checkerspot is doing. Checkerspot's technology turns sugar into oil in a matter of days. And so the benefits of this technology are immense. First of all, why microalgae? Microalgae is the progenitor of all higher plants. All of the genetic machinery of every higher plant is within every single microalgae cell. And what we've done at Checkerspot is really unlocked the code of how to produce these unique oils within the microalgae cell in a matter of days through precision fermentation. But it's not enough, we know, to create these perfect, incredible molecules. Really, what we felt was needed was that you have to show what is possible. You have to demonstrate to de-risk for large-scale adoption. And so when Checkerspot formed up, we really wanted to create a deeply vertically integrated platform that went all the way from molecule with these unique oils that we're making through materials science, fabrication, and ultimately to consumer engagement. The fact of the matter is, in the US, and I know in many other countries, brands are struggling to differentiate, and especially new designers in the Gen Z generation, they don't want to use petroleum inputs. They are desperate for different inputs. And the issue is that, you know, to date, everyone's been baking a cake with the same ingredients. So, and at the other side of the equation, consumers don't want to trade performance for sustainability. So we decided to start our animation process in outdoor recreation. We wanted to bring to life for the community what is possible with post-petroleum materials. And in order to catalyze this brand, we focused on how do you reimagine what gear and what materials could be for consumers. And the outdoor recreation space was a perfect place for us to really start to bring this to life. It's a community that deeply cares about the environment, and it's also a community that really cares about their gear. When you're in the backcountry and you are at the top of a cliff, you've got to make sure that your skis and your gear are going to work. And so really focusing on the performance aspect of what we were bringing to market was even more important than the sustainability aspect, because in our minds, sustainability is now table stakes for companies and for brands. And by designing with intention and focusing on that design, consumers and entities are recognizing that these products can be differentiated and are differentiated. And then really fast, it is an exciting time in the US. We have been really thrilled to see the administration take a stand in accelerating biotechnology innovation, in focusing on growing America's bioeconomy across multiple sectors in a wide range of industries, from healthcare to agriculture, energy. This administration is really seeking to drive these advances that are going to help us really shore up fragile supply chains and allow us to, you know, produce what we need when we need it, production on demand, divorced from climate, divorced from geography, and the ability, again, to focus on producing what we need and when we need it, with the ultimate goal being a lower carbon footprint. And that is everything. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janae. And it's nice to hear that, again, the new administration is strongly supporting the bioeconomy, which is the same that we feel here in Brazil. And I saw in the presentation of China that they have a 5-year program. So it's really important to see that governments are becoming aware of the importance of sustainability on one hand, and the role that biotechnology and bioeconomy can play in this strategy.
Absolutely.
So thanks a lot. And it was a little bit yeah, go ahead. Yeah, it was a little bit strange for me to see skis and snow sitting here in Rio.
It's been a good season here.
Thanks a lot, and we look forward to the further discussion. So we move now to the last speaker, and I see that in the meantime, indeed, Giulia Gregori could join us. So hello, Giulia. So we move now to finally to Europe, and we will have a short presentation presented by Giulia. She is the head of strategic planning and corporate communication at Novamont, which is one of the really famous companies in Europe dedicated to, I must say, not just to bioeconomy, but to a strategy linked to bioeconomy, if I can say. Novamont is world's leader in the bioplastic sector and in the development of biochemicals and bioproducts from renewable origins. Giulia entered in Novamont in 2000 after graduating in pure chemistry. She is responsible for strategic research and innovation projects and corporate communication managing also external relationships with public and private funding institutions. She is a member of the governing board of Circular Bio-Based Europe, a joint undertaking, the CBE, and member of the board of directors of the University of Eastern Piedmont. She is Secretary General of the Italian cluster of Circular Bioeconomy Spring. And you already heard this morning that Spring is also supporting our survey to come to a global bioeconomy approach. And she's member of the National Coordination Group for the Bioeconomy at the Presidency of the Council of Ministers and in charge of the development and implementation of the Italian bioeconomy strategy. I think that's enough, Giulia, and I give you the floor.
Thank you for this nice introduction, and hello to everybody. It's a pleasure for me being here and to have the chance to share with you the approach that we are trying to follow as an innovative company in the sector of bioeconomy, and try to share with you how we see the big potential of industrial biotechnology also in our sector. So I'm going to share my screen.
Nice to see them.
Can you see my screen? Can you see the presentation?
Perfect, Giulia, perfect.
Thank you. So as I was saying, Novamont was founded in 1990 with the aim of integrating agriculture, chemistry, and environment. And we were founded as a research center. Then during the year, we became an industrial group with a specific focus on bioplastics and biochemicals and biomaterials in general. We try to follow a circular bioeconomy approach. So what we are trying to do is not just focusing on feedstock or in technologies or in the markets. We think that this sector, really pushes us to think in a different way and in a systemic way. So our development model is based on three main pillars. The first one is the idea to protect virgin land and to try to reindustrialize the disused sites, both chemical or biotech sites. In Italy, unfortunately, we have a lot of these dismissed sites. And what we are trying to do is to develop innovative and sustainable processes that can be scaled up in these disused sites and to give a real contribution to the decarbonization of the economy. The second pillar is the focus on research and innovation to develop agricultural value chain linked to the local areas through strong partnership with farmers and cooperative of farmers, with the idea of transforming renewable raw materials and especially in this moment residues into new byproducts. And the third pillar is the idea of thinking about new products as a solution. So with the approach of eco-designing products, we are trying to move from the idea that bio-based products need to replace one-to-one fossil products, but we are really focusing on those applications where bio-based and compostable and biodegradable products can really give a contribution to close the carbon cycle and to really take care that no persistent substances will accumulate in soil, water, or compost. So here you can see our bioeconomy platform. We started by developing technology for biopolymers and biomaterials. So the first technology that we have developed several years ago is the complex starch technology. And then working together with different partners, but mainly with farmers, we were able to use different kind of raw materials, applying the technology that we have developed to get a broad range of biomonomers. I would just mention the one for butanediol, but also THF, azelaic acid, and pelargonic acid. And what we are focusing now is the use of scraps to get new feedstock for our processes. In talking about the industrial biotechnology and the processes that we have developed during the years, I would talk briefly about the plant that we have in Bottrighe. As I said before, this is a clear case study where we acquired a biotech dismissed plant. The former proprietary was a Japanese company called Ajinomoto. The plant had been closed, so Novamont decided to buy that plant, apply the new technology developed together with an American biotech startup called Genomatica. So we put together our know-how and our strengths. They developed this microorganism to transform with a dedicated process sugars into one for butanediol, and Novamont put its know-how on the downstream process that it's very, very critical in this kind of biotech process, and as well the know-how in scaling up these new processes. So today we have a production capacity of this monomer of 30,000 tons per year. And the monomer that we produce as, in terms of environmental impact, CO2 emission lower than the fossil one, less than 50%. And here you can see some pictures of the plant. That is it is a very big plant. And what we are doing now is using all the residues and side products of this process to produce energy, our own energy, biogas and biomethane, and then also developing new products that can be used in the agricultural sector. And here you can see a short picture of the process that we are using in Bottrighe, and the main focus now is to work together with different partners in order to get second generation sugar. It's not an easy job, but we are working together with companies and universities working on wastewater treatment plant to get cellulose, and from cellulose to get second generation sugars for to feed our plant. And we are also working together with companies that are developing a very important process to transform lignocellulosic residues into sugars. And I would say that biotechnology in this kind of sector can really play an important role. So this is where we are focusing our energy now. For sure, but I think that we will discuss later. It's a very intensive work that we, together with the other player in this sector, we are doing. We are investing a lot because we really believe that this sector can make the difference for Europe and for the decarbonization of our economy. But we really need to have a regulatory framework that can be consistent and clear on where we have to go, because otherwise we really risk to lose our leadership in this sector. I would say that we risk to lose also jobs and big investment made so far. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Giulia. And it was very clear that I'm looking to my text. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, it was very clear that you touched a few interesting points, and I think this refurbishing of these used sites is something that is very attractive worldwide also, because it's also part of sustainability to reuse an old plant and to turn it into a new situation and so on. I also saw on your slides the bio CO2, and I think that's also one of the points that is popping up. Yesterday here in Rio, we had a big discussion about the use of CO2 coming from biomass processing. So I think that's also certainly a point that we have to take into account. And finally, you mentioned the scraps as a new element, and not only the scraps, but also wastewater. I think that's really something that will fully integrate in our society. It's not just agriculture related. We're more moving to waste. We are moving to wastewater. So we are moving to the whole urban situation of our society, I think. So I would like now to open the panel discussion, and I would like to invite all the panelists to open their camera so that we can see you all. And I would like to ask if we want to bring the bioeconomy forward at the level of one of the most important global economies, see what Jukka was telling us in the beginning, then I think that regulation can play a big role. So the point is, if we make regulations in each of the countries that were presented today in a separate way, then it will not work. We will not create a global economy. We will only create a national economy. So I think maybe there is a need for a kind of global regulations in the field of this bioeconomy. So that's the first question. How do you look at it? What is needed? How can we improve it, etc.? I will not indicate a person to speak, but please raise your hand or so, and then we can move on. And you don't have to answer every question, but if you want to contribute to the questions, please let us know by just waving or raising your hand. Who wants to start on the regulation? Yeah, okay, Giulia.
So I completely agree with you that I mean, we need a global approach to bio-based, and what we think could be helpful. First of all, we think that we need to start to count these products and these economic activities. And so what we are really trying to raise at national, but also at European level, the idea that we need to start to have economical statistical code for this kind of production, because otherwise it's very difficult to weigh the importance in terms of economic numbers, but also it's also difficult to differentiate also intervention if you're not able to discriminate what is fossil-based or not. Another thing that we think that is crucial is start valorizing the decreased amount of CO2 that these kind of products can really bring to our economy and to our environment. What we feel is that if we keep telling people that, okay, my products is able to decarbonize the environment, but there's no way to valorize in terms of economic approach, or we can try to find a way, but it's just something that is nice to do, but not something that you are valorized if you do. So I think that we really need to start thinking about this sector, trying to set rules also for biomaterials and bio-based products in order to valorize who is trying to decarbonize our economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Giulia. I think it's very clear. We move now to Thiago.
This is a good question. Regulation, not only in bioeconomy, but in all of sectors, it's not easy to solve. And one point that you mentioned, Ludo, that is how about to solve the regulation question in the world, and maybe creating an international regulation. There is a point that is very difficult to solve. That is the sovereignty of each country to regulate your own territory and the subjects that are sailed there. The point is, bioeconomy is a very innovative, involved disruptive technologies, and regulation must ensure the safety, however, create barriers to innovation. I could say it in other words that the regulation must be designed considering that the costs of regulation, the cost of innovation, the benefits of bioeconomy, to create the best possible conditions for innovation to flourish. This is the main point. What are the challenges? First point is then create enough regulation. Okay, in each country must to have your own regulation. This is the point, and create a way to harmonize regulation around the world. We have here discussions that involves different countries. Some products produced in Europe, others in US, others in Brazil, for example. And in each country, we have a different kind of regulation for the same product. Then we have a lot of costs to make studies and redundant studies. Some products must to go through different regulation agents, different agents. Then maybe an international agreement that establishes the directories of regulation for bioeconomy for specific issues should be a good idea and a way to start to solve this kind of problem.
Thank you, Thiago. So I understand that we need to do our own regulation, but to harmonize it so that you can sell it also elsewhere. If exactly. I can give an example, if I make to name a very bad molecule, benzene, and everybody knows in the world when they want to buy benzene, what is the purity, and everybody understands perfectly how it is done. And I think this is indeed much more difficult with bio-based products, so we need to go there as well. Yibin, you had also some comments.
Yes, I fully agree with the previous comments. But I think
Jibin, the sound is very low.
Yeah.
That's better. Yeah, that's much better. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it is very important to train the decision maker, the leadership of the countries, also the people. So the new technology bioeconomy, for example, the industrial biotechnology or biomanufacturing, is a kind of green and less expensive and environmental friendly technology. But most of the leaders, they just know some parts they didn't fully understand. So for some of them, they could be maybe anxious for the danger of the new creatures or new cells which are used in industrial biotechnology. I think we need a long time to train them, or to maybe to let all people to understand the technology and the good points. The second one is, I think we could, for example, our forum could have some function, or the United Nations could have some function, could collect some good practice. We summarize the good practice and we formulate as some guidelines. So to let the other country or most of the country is easily to take it over for policy making. I think the third one is, of course, the technology development nowadays is still in the very early beginning. We see a lot of technology is very cost efficient, but some of them we still need to compete with the traditional traditional industry, like traditional chemistry. So we still need to continually improve the investment in the R&D sector to get more technology mature to be used. Thank you.
Thank you, Libin. Paulo?
I'm just add some interesting action, because Global Alliance could be work also in different sectors. For example, yes, last year, Brazil, India, United States launched a Global Biofuels Alliance that to work together to promote biofuels around the world. So I think this is another way to put and to promote some kinds of things that we can share knowledge and technology.
So, and I suppose that this certification is strongly linked to technical issues of the fuels, because otherwise you can create some problems, etc. So I think it's a very good example where this is possible. But if we move to a broad range of other materials, we will need still a lot of other issues in the same field. And also, as well as I think it was mentioned by several of you, if we want to indicate that these materials are made with less CO2 emissions, we need something to indicate it as a number, not just that people must have an emotional feeling about it, but really that they understand it. I would like now for the second question to build on what Professor Sun was saying about the leaders and better understanding. And this brings me automatically to education. What is, in your opinion, needed at the level of education? Because we, bioeconomy, we are always saying it's very mimicking nature, it's based on sustainability, but a lot of people think in the other way. So how can we improve education, or what is needed at that level?
A question.
Who wants to start?
First?
Libin, yeah.
Yeah. I think.
Please keep your mic as high as possible, otherwise it's difficult. Yeah. Sorry for that.
Yeah, I fully agree. We need to have good education. I think the education is not only for the young people. So I think the most situation, the young people, they have good knowledge to understand the good point of the bioeconomy. But I think for the other people in the society, some elder person or some which are less educated persons, they have some, like in the case in China, some of the people have fear to genetic modified microorganisms. Actually, many of GMO are already in the industrial uses for many years, maybe 20 years already. The people maybe have some impression from a film or some novels. They have the bad impression, have the fear. But I think we need to have really education to further for those people. Maybe some of these people have really have the power to make the decision. This is my comment. Thank you.
Thank you a lot, Jibin. I think indeed, speaking about this fear of genetic manipulation, it's needless to say how much fear there exists in Europe for that, and how difficult it is. But I think indeed that we need to inform people in the right way and not to say nothing about it, because that creates fear as well. We are moving out of time, and I would like to leave also some time to the audience, but therefore I would now move to a last question from my side. And this is from if we want to go to a global home for the bioeconomy, then my question is, what kind of topics should be discussed and agreed upon in a global approach? And so the idea in the survey that we launched today is to go more to a global approach of bioeconomy. We already discussed education, we discussed regulation. So what is needed to make that this bioeconomy is globally becoming one of the most important economies of a future sustainable world? So who wants to react? Giulia.
Yeah, I think we have to see consumer pull through. I think that, a lot of this is going to be making it cool and making it real for people and talking about the benefits of the technology. What you were saying, Professor Sun, about the fear around genetically modified organisms, I think is real. But I also think that one of the interesting things from, the pandemic that we just went through is that there's a new understanding around the benefits of biotechnology. And I feel that there's a page that is being turned in the benefits around fermentation-based production as well. And I think that, I come from a background in television, advertising, brand building, and I think we need to do good storytelling. I think we need to, bring it to life in new and different ways, because the desire with the consumers and with the new designers that are coming up is to really be able to use these new inputs and these new products. So I think it's twofold.
Thanks, Giulia, and I think you are really very well placed to comment on this kind of information. And you mentioned that we have to make it cool. Yesterday, somebody mentioned we have to make it sexy. So that's even another
Exactly.
word for it. So
exactly.
Andrew, what do you want to add to this discussion?
Yeah, thank you. I concur with the previous discussion, and Jibin brought in the issue of environment goodness. And what surprised me here in Africa, where you would expect that food security could be a driver of policy change. When you ask, it's surprising that people are more responsive to the environment than to food security. Yes. I think that food security, nutrition, when people can find food, they think much less about their food security and a lot more about the safety of the environment. I think it is inbuilt into our nature that when you have a good environment, then food will be there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. And I agree with the previous discussions that I think we can say that the new technology is for a better environment, for a better future for all of us, as a much better change or what do I want to say? As perhaps as the most important. Then after that, the rest we have, because in actual fact it is. That's why we are changing from traditional methods that are using so much carbon and all this, and trying to find ways in which we can do the same or even better with less effect on the environment. So I think we go environment, we go, and then later on we can discuss other things like food and even health. I think health is also stronger, but a little bit later, much more to adults than to the young people. Yeah. So
with food security, you mean that people are not so much concerned about the quality of the food or the healthy food?
Yeah. Yes, you know, even nutrition is less perceived as an important issue than the food itself, and it's amazing. But I think it's coming out of our evolutionary mindset that when the environment is good, the rain is coming, there's no climate change, then food will be assured. Yeah. So you know, and we were surprised. Maybe we can do some more studies around these perceptions and better build our cases in terms of surveys. Of course, the policymakers who already have enough food in their homes would be more to this, but also less privileged in terms of food tend to feel a better environment is more important than food security.
Thanks a lot for this comment as well. I think now it's really time to move to Mark again for some questions from the chat. I see that there are a lot of questions already. So Mark, I give the word back to you, and please can you start with some questions from the chat?
Sorry, just unmuting. Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Fantastic. Great. Let me just get my questions up. Okay, that was excellent. That really was very good. Fantastic presentation. So we haven't had a huge amount of questions because I think the presentation seems to answer them so well. But there is one that we put in the introduction about, this is a question for all speakers. Is it viable that the bioeconomy can account for 1/3 of the global economy by 2030? What do all panelists think on that? Is it ambitious?
I'll take a stab at this. I think it is ambitious, but I think it is doable. And I think that, you know, this is where the world is going to be moving. And there are two parts to the word bioeconomy. The first part being around bio and the science and the technology and all of the applications it's developing. And I think that we're at the real beginning stages of seeing those new molecules come into the marketplace and start to scale up. And it is, you know, players like Gino and Novamont and so many others, the work that BNDES has been doing down in Brazil to show what's possible at scale. The next phase in front of us is the economy part of that. And as a reminder, like in the petroleum, you know, past, it was not the petroleum industry that created the economy around petroleum. It is the thousands of innovators that took those petroleum molecules and turned them into super unique applications and moved them through society. One of my favorite stories is that, you know, does anybody know what the first use of HDPE was? It was the hula hoop. It was the hula hoop. And now it is everywhere. And I'm not saying, the good news is we're not starting at the hula hoop level, but the great news is that on the economy side of things, these new molecules that are being created are going to open new doors for new products and new materials that we haven't yet conceived of. So I think that those two things coming together, bio and the economy, is what's really going to drive that opportunity that you put out there so well, Mark.
Fantastic. You for president, Janae. Anyone else want to pick up on that about, you know, do we see the accounting for 1/3 of the global economy by 2030?
There is a hand from Jibin and from Andrew.
Andrew.
Yes, thank you. I think that it's even less ambitious if we address some of the bios that are already been going on, but do innovations that improve them. And I take the example from Giulia, who told us about how they repurposed a whole factory, a whole system that the original developers, investors had abandoned, but then they could come in and exactly use the same equipment and restore its function and do many different things. I think if we did the same to so many other systems that are struggling to be economical and put biology in them, I think it's even much more doable.
Jibin.
Yes, I also agree with the two comments previously. So I also think it's definitely very ambitious, but it's doable. So my argument is that I think the technology, the enabling technology, for example, the synthetic biology or enzyme design or cell design or such kind of very important technology for create this high level technology to replace the existing technology. This the enabling technology is evolving very fast. Also, the tools, the facilities which combine artificial intelligence together with biotechnology is also evolving very fast. In addition, many examples, successful examples in the markets, and also the good policy from the government. Altogether, I think we can really accelerate this process. So it's possible.
Excellent. Any other comments there? Thiago?
Very, very fast. It's ambitious for sure, but without great ambitions, we will not move towards a low carbon economy. We must have this great ambitions. Then our colleagues here talked about some aspects. I will not repeat it, but we need to have great ambitions.
Great.
We have technologies. We have conditions. We need to create together with the government the environment to allow this transition to a low carbon economy.
Excellent. Anybody else like to comment there? I'm going to stay with you, Thiago, then, and ask you one of the questions that came up, which is, what are the main barriers to private sector investments in Brazil?
Sorry, can you repeat, Mark, please?
Yeah. What are the main barriers to private sector investment in Brazil?
Okay. Talking about bioeconomy specifically, we have some kinds of issues that must be solved. First one, I should say, regulation that we discussed before. There are some regulations that must be modernized, modernization of some regulation, and there are some great problems regarding, we used to say, Brazilian cost that involves bureaucracy, taxes, complexity of the environment in Brazil, like import taxes, like difficult to establish public-private partnerships. Some points like this, the Brazilian costs must be improved also. We having some discussions in our parliament about tax reform in Brazil that will be very important, and this kind of discussion must to consider the innovation and the green economy in the area that must be prioritized. And the last point, the share the risks of investment to the development of technologies, and then the role of BNDES, FINEP, Brazil, must be connected with the development of the technologies. I just summarizing these three aspects as the most important, in my opinion.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Speaking about the role of BNDES, Paulo Pieroni also want to add something over there.
Absolutely.
Please, Mark. I couldn't agree more with Thiago. He summarized very well our challenges in Brazil. But I will mark the innovation environment in Brazil. We have to foster the innovation environment with more instruments, more grants. In United States, for example, we have a lot of grants, and in Brazil we are trying to move on and foster this kind of instruments. And I think BNDES and the Brazilian Development Bank, our innovation agents, FINEP, we can work together to foster this environment. Now, I think it's a top priority of the Brazilian government, and I'm sure that you can leader and move faster in the next years.
Excellent. Great. Any other comments on that one? No? And Jibin, we had a great advancement by China. Well done. So that's one of the comments that we had there. But the question is, what role do biorefineries play in China today? How many are already operating?
Thank you for a very good question. So it's very interesting. The government and also the central government, local government, also from the public domain, already invested a lot of money to develop new technology, to make a test, to make products from agriculture debris, from biomass, from stocks, from this kind of things. But the biorefinery up to now is still in demonstration. We have several demonstration plans. People steadily increase the production efficiency, try to improve it, but I think it's still in the very starting point. But I do see the dawning light, as I know there's a technology barrier in the existing ones. That means the enzymatic process is very costly due to the enzyme use. So, but we now have the new technology without addition of the enzyme, without use the expensive enzyme. We just use microorganism cells. We can convert the straw into the final product. I think this really save a lot of money. In the future, we can see the stocks will be the really raw materials for biomanufacturing. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And I think that we're coming to the end, Jukka. Would you want to finish up now?
Yeah, maybe it's better that, okay, if I ask a couple of questions still,
of course.
Ludo about this, because he's been putting together this all nice panel and nice view. So, okay, Ludo, how do you see now, okay, that we were then, okay, setting up very ambitious, let's say, okay, question that, okay, are we entering to get biorevolution? So, what is your taking on it? That where we stand on that topic?
Thanks, Jukka. And first of all, I would like to thank all the panelists for the very nice presentations and for the very good overviews. And I see that every of the presentations showed in a certain way a very strong ambition. And like Thiago said, if we don't have an ambition, we will not get there. So you must be ambitious, otherwise it will not work. And in that way, it can change very fast. And I always show to my students a picture of the Fifth Avenue in New York in 1900, and on a Eastern morning, and then you saw one car which was driven by an internal combustion engine, and all the rest was still by horses. And then I show another picture of 13 years later, only 13 years. And it was the same Fifth Avenue in New York in the same Easter morning. And then you saw only one car by horses, and all the rest was via internal combustion engines. And in that way, I always show changes can go really very fast. And we live now in a world 100 years later, which is moving much faster. So certainly possible. I also understood very strongly, and this was really for me an eye-opener these days, but it's also confirmed today that yield increase will be one of the major issues, because we were coming to a certain discussion of a threat that bioeconomy would destroy the biodiversity by using too much land. And now with the ideas that we can produce much more from the same surface, will make a complete change. Yeah, so that's for sure an important point. And I was also happy to hear that also Africa is saying that, where there is still, I think, a lot of potential to increase the amount of crops that are produced per square kilometer, etc. So that's certainly a very important point. The second one is, of course, what Giulia was mentioning, scraps. So all kinds of waste. I always say there is maybe not enough waste in the world, but up to now, I only see that there is still a huge amount of waste that is not used. And not using waste means that this waste degrades into greenhouse gases. So there as well, we have a lot of possibilities. It was also nice to see that synthetic biology was mentioned by Jibin very strongly, and it offers a lot of opportunities to make very dedicated, functionalized molecules. Also, we saw bio CO2 coming among the corner. And I think also there we are moving, and we see now that if we want to make the biocarbon completely used in a sink situation, then we go to the use also of CO2 coming from bio origin. And then I liked very much also the fact that when we speak about communication, that we must do it in a storytelling, and it must be cool. And maybe we need again a kind of hula hoop development to make it cool. And if I remember very well the mania that existed when the hula hoop came, and so if you can create something like that, you immediately make a full change. Also, education was extremely important, and if we speak about education, we think to educate our children, and of course that's extremely important, but it was also clear that we have to educate our political leaders, which is maybe more difficult, but we have to bring them in this system as well. And then finally, from my side, concerning regulation, we need a good global certification system where we are not just emotionally mentioning things, but where we show it with numbers, where it is very clear to everybody that our bioeconomy products are made in a climate neutral way, but also in a biodiversity way, and in an ethical, social ethical way, etc. So these things are all linked together. And that's also what we had yesterday when we spoke about, or no, not yesterday, but 2 days ago, about the Amazon. So the economy of the Amazon is a societal bioeconomy and must deliver immediately a lot of benefits to the local people living there. With that, I would like to close, Jukka, unless you have other questions.
Yeah, I think you were covering the main topics very well, and very, very smart words, and you were then picking up the main takeaways of this session. So I'd like to also thank all the speakers, Paolo, Thiago, Andrew, Ipin, Janet, and Giulia on your valuable time to sharing your views on this biorevolution, and also on that I think you were touching upon very well about this, whether there is a need to setting up the global hub for the bioeconomy. No one knows at this point of time that how it should be set up, but that's the reason we are asking your advice of this program. So please participate to this survey and provide your ideas that how we should then, what kind of topics should we then discuss, how it should be then organized, how should it be financed, all these kind of issues. So it does take only, let's say, 5 to 6 minutes to reply on it. And we are doing these all statistics together with our partners, and we are sharing the results. You might have a good reason also from that perspective to come in for the next roundtable, while we are having a look, where do we stand at that point of time? I mean, 25th of April, when we are broadcasting this roundtable from that position. So all in all, that we keep on repeating these topics, and the final results are available by the end of this year. And we are also setting quite ambitious targets. A year ago, we set the target that the bioeconomy should be then discussed in the climate COP. It was realized. So last climate COP, there was a bioeconomy panel organized by UNIDO, and we were honored to be then invited to this panel to sharing that what does it then mean. And so hopefully gradually there is a sort of, let's say, comprehension to the role of the bioeconomy, bioproducts, how they are then mitigate the climate change, and the substitution and all these effects that we are talking that very loosely, but it's not then at all incorporated at this point of time into the climate change mitigation toolbox. We think it should definitely be part of that, and they do play a role. But gradually things are hopefully going to this direction. So there we then go. So with these words, I think that thanks again also for the audience, and as always, we are recording these roundtables. So if you missed some part of this, you can always see the recordings from the YouTube channel. So thanks for the partners, and thanks for those speakers. Thanks for the key stick with whom we then organize this event, and we are a bit envy on you because you are there in Rio. Have some good times there. We survive here up in the north here in Finland. So very hard. But nevertheless, thanks to you all, and with this video, we are closing this debate today. So thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.